Welcome back to the 99. So obviously I'm by myself today. Kim is out with some health issues right now, so just any prayers for her healing so she can come back next week would be appreciated. When she gets back, if she wants to talk about like why she was gone, that's her call, but yeah, just extra prayers is good. So I wanted to talk about the California fires and how it relates to prophecy, because there's been a lot of people I've seen on Facebook like posting about the fires, but throwing out Revelation chapter 8 with it. And Revelation is written in chronological order. And so there's a lot that needs to happen still. I'm going to read some of it too, so you get a picture of what is supposed to happen first. So yeah, you can't like take things out of context, and I'm going to give some context today so nobody's confused. So, like I said, Revelation is written in chronological order. So all the chapters happen as they're written. So 6, 7, 8, 9. They're written like whatever they say happens in that order, because it says this happens, and then it says then this happens, then this happens. So it's it's in order that way. So today's going to be quite a bit of reading, because I'm trying to give context to what is in Revelation, but also, I'm going to be reading it by myself. So it might take a little bit, but bear with me. So we're going to start off in Revelation. So we're going to read Revelation 6, 7, and 8. Well, parts of 7, not the whole thing, I don't think. I mean, I might as well not skip anything. Yeah, so I'm going to be reading a few chapters. It's only like 2 pages, so it's not super long, but it's a lot of information condensed into a couple pages. So Revelation chapter 6. So this is about where it talks about the Lamb, so Christ, breaking the first 6 seals. So this stuff, like I said, people are trying to talk about the fires, which are, even though they're devastating and very sad, it doesn't, I don't really think it has a whole lot to do with prophecy. Yeah, and once you hear the context, you'll see why I think that. So, okay, so chapter 6 of Revelation says, "As I watched, the Lamb broke the first of the 7 seals on the scroll. Then I heard one of the 4 living beings say with a voice like thunder, 'Come.' I looked up and saw a white horse." Okay, so this is one of the things that has to happen before even chapter 8. How people think we're in chapter 8 right now. Like the 4 horsemen have to happen first. So, okay. Let's see. I looked up and saw a white horse standing there. Its rider carried a bow, a crown was placed on his head. He rode out to win many battles and gain the victory. When the Lamb broke the second seal, I heard the second living being say, "Come." Then another horse appeared, a red one. Its rider was given a mighty sword and the authority to take peace from the earth. And there was war and slaughter everywhere. When the Lamb broke the third seal, I heard the third living being say, "Come." I looked up and saw a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. And I heard a voice from among the 4 living beings say, a loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay. And don't waste the olive oil and wine. When the Lamb broke the 4th seal, I heard the 4th living being saying, "Come." I looked up and saw a horse whose color was pale green. His rider was named Death, and his companion was the grave. These 2 were given authority over 1/4 of the earth to kill with the sword and famine and disease and wild animals. So a fourth of the earth is kind of a lot. And even though we have lots of wars and stuff going on right now, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it's a fourth of the globe. So we wouldn't be dealing with these seals yet. Let's see. When the Lamb broke the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of all who had been martyred for the word of God and for being faithful in their testimony. They shouted to the Lord and said, O sovereign Lord, holy and true, how long before you judge the people who belong to this world and avenge our blood for what they have done to us? Then a white robe was given to each of them, and they were told to rest a little longer until the full number of their brothers and sisters, their fellow servants of Jesus, who were to be martyred, had joined them. I watched as the Lamb broke the sixth seal, and there was a great earthquake. Okay, now listen, this stuff hasn't happened either, okay? The sun became dark as black cloth, and the moon became as red as blood. Then the stars of the sky fell to the earth like green figs falling from a tree shaken by a strong wind. The sky was rolled up like a scroll, and all of the mountains and islands were moved from their places. These things have not happened. We are not in even chapter 6 yet. And if it's written in chronological order, and 6 hasn't happened yet, that means 7 and 8 haven't happened yet either. So verse 15 says, Then everyone, the kings of the earth, the rulers, the generals, the wealthy, the powerful, and every slave and free person, all hid themselves in the caves and among the rocks of the mountains. And they cried to the mountains and the rocks, Fall on us and hide us from the face of the one who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who is able to survive? So there's been some pretty serious things happen in chapter 6 that haven't happened yet. So chapter 7 talks about God's people being preserved. These are the 144,000 witnesses that God puts a special seal on and protects them from, and they will, from what I understand, they will be part of those people who, with the 2 witnesses and the angel, these 144,000 help to witness the gospel to people who are still here. So it says, Then I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding back the 4 winds, so they did not blow on the earth or the sea, or even on any tree. Then I saw another angel coming up from the east, carrying the seal of the living God, and he shouted to those 4 angels who had been given power to harm the land and the sea, Wait, don't harm the land or the sea or the trees until we have placed the seal of God on the foreheads of his servants. And I heard how many were marked with the seal of God. 144,000 were sealed from all of the tribes of Israel. So remember, in past videos, I've said prophecy doesn't surround the US. It doesn't surround like Mexico or Japan or Russia or wherever. I mean, Russia is probably in there somewhere because it mentions Rosh in Revelation, I think. Maybe Matthew, I don't know. But anyways, so this is talking about the 144,000 who were sealed from all the tribes of Israel. So there's 12,000 from each of the 12 tribes. It's 12,000 from Judah, 12,000 from Reuben, 12,000 from Gad, 12,000 from Asher, 12,000 from Naphtali, 12,000 from Manasseh, 12,000 from Simeon, 12,000 from Levi, 12,000 from Issachar, 12,000 from Zebulun, 12,000 from Joseph, and 12,000 from the tribe of Benjamin. So these are the people that will be protected and sealed. So they will not be harmed during any of the wrath that happens. Let's see. So verse 9 says, After this I saw a vast crowd, too great to count, from every nation and tribe, and people and language, standing in front of the throne and before the Lamb. They were clothed in white robes and held palm branches in their hands. And they were shouting with a great roar, "Salvation comes from our God who sits on the throne and from the Lamb." And all the angels were standing around the throne and around the elders and the four living beings. And they fell before the throne to their faces to the ground and worshiped God. They sang, "Amen, blessing and glory and wisdom and thanksgiving and honor and power and strength belong to our God forever and ever. Amen." Then one of the 24 elders asked me, "Who are these who are clothed in white? Where did they come from?" And I said to him, "Sir, you are the one who knows." Then he said to me, "These are the ones who died in the great tribulation. They have washed their robes in the blood of the Lamb and made them white. That is why they stand in front of God's throne and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will give them shelter. They will never again be hungry or thirsty. They will never be scorched by the heat of the sun, for the Lamb on the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes." So chapter 8. So this is where people think that we are right now. This says, when the Lamb broke the seventh seal on the scroll, there was silence throughout heaven for the space of about half an hour. I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and they were given 7 trumpets. So there's people that think that we're at the first trumpet right now. Okay. Then another angel with a gold incense burner came and stood at the altar, and a great amount of incense was given to him to mix with the prayers of God's people as an offering on the gold altar before the throne. The smoke of the incense mixed with the prayers of God's holy people ascended up to God from the altar where the angel had poured them out. Then the angel filled the incense burner with fire from the altar and threw it down upon the earth, and thunder crashed, lightning flashed, and there was a terrible earthquake. Let's see. So this is the first 4 trumpets. Then the 7 angels with the 7 trumpets prepared to blow their mighty blasts. The first angel blew his trumpet, and hail and fire mixed with blood were thrown down on the earth, so that 1/3 of the earth was set on fire, 1/3 of the trees were burned, and all the grass was burned. So, a couple things. So this fire was started with hail mixed with fire and blood was thrown down at the earth. So with all the apocalyptic wrath that happens here, there's a lot of symbolism in Revelation, obviously, but I take the way that it describes the wrath literally, because it talks about, like the sun being darkened, like stars falling from the sky. Like it's literal to me. And so when I read this and it says the first angel blew his trumpet and hail and fire mixed with blood were thrown down on the earth, I don't think the fire from California was started with hail mixed with fire and blood. I don't think it started that way. Again, these fires are very scary and very sad and devastating. I'm not saying they're not, and my prayers are with the families who have dealt with loss. The last I read, there was 10 people that have died, so that's very sad. I'm just saying I don't think it's related to chapter 8 at all, especially because the next line says, 1/3 of the earth was set on fire, 1/3 of the trees were burned, and all the green grass was burned. So from what it sounds like to me, this angel that blows his trumpet and throws down hail mixed with fire and blood, to me, that's all at once. 1/3 of the earth was set on fire, 1/3 of the trees were burned, and all the green grass was burned. Then the second angel blew his trumpet, and a great mountain of fire was thrown into the sea. Now, to me, this sounds like it could be like a volcano, maybe. I'm not sure. Then the second angel blew his trumpet, and a great mountain of fire was thrown into the sea. 1/3 of the water in the sea became blood. 1/3 of all the living things in the sea died, and 1/3 of all the ships on the sea were destroyed. So if we're in chapter 8, and this fire was started with the first trumpet, wouldn't that also mean that 1/3 of the water would be blood right now, or starting to become blood, and 1/3 of all the living things in the sea would be dead, and 1/3 of all the ships on the sea would be destroyed? Like, wouldn't that mean that that is happening now, or very, very soon would be happening? Now, this is 1/3 of over the whole earth, and I don't think that fire in California takes up 1/3 of the earth, because it says 1/3 of the earth was set on fire. I know there's different fires everywhere. It's not just in the US that has fires. I know that. I'm just saying, even if you look up all the fires that are happening right now, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's 1/3 of the earth that's set ablaze right now. I don't think that that is happening right now. Let's see. So, and this is still in chapter 8, okay? And people are crying chapter 8 for Revelation right now for this fire. And so that's why I'm reading it all, because this stuff isn't happening right now. Let's see. So verse 10 says, Then the third angel blew his trumpet, and a great star fell from the sky like a torch. It fell on 1/3 of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star was Wormwood. It made 1/3 of the water, so that many people died from drinking the bitter water. Then the fourth angel blew his trumpet, and 1/3 of the sun was struck. 1/3 of the sun was struck. And 1/3 of the moon was also struck, and 1/3 of the stars, they became dark. And 1/3 of the day was dark, and also 1/3 of the night. So this is really noticeable stuff when it happens. It's going to be like, you can't mistake it for something else or wonder if that's it. It's going to be obvious, these things that happen. Then I looked, and I heard a single eagle crying loudly as it flew through the air, Terror, terror, terror to all who belong to this world, because of what will happen when the last 3 angels blow their trumpets. So the next chapter, chapter 9, talks about 5 and 6, the 5th and 6th trumpet, and then the 7th one doesn't happen until 11, chapter 15, when it talks about it. Let's see, but I'll just keep going for a minute. The 5th angel blew his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen to the earth from the sky, and he was given the key to the shaft of the bottomless pit. When he opened it, smoke poured out as though from a huge furnace, and the sunlight and air turned dark from the smoke. Then, this part is crazy. Then locusts came from the smoke and descended on the earth. They were given the power to sting like scorpions. They were told not to harm the grass or the plants or trees, but only the people who did not have the seal of God on their foreheads. So those 144,000. They were told to not kill them, but to torture them for 5 months with pain, like the pain of a scorpion sting. In those days, people will seek death, but will not find it. They will long to die, but death will flee from them. The locusts looked like horses prepared for battle. They had what looked like gold crowns on their heads, and their faces looked like human faces. This is crazy. They had hair like a woman and teeth like that of a lion. They wore armor made of iron, and their wings roared like an army of chariots rushing into battle. So these locusts that come look pretty wild, apparently. Let's see. They had tails that stung like scorpions, and for 5 months they had the power to torment people. Their king is the angel from the bottomless pit. His name in the Hebrew is Abaddon, in Greek, Apollyon, the destroyer. The first terror is past, but look, 2 more terrors are coming. So all of this crazy stuff, and it's not even done yet. It's like really hasn't fully started because the trumpets are first and then the bowls. The bowls are worse. So all of this sounds bad, but it's just starting. That's why you don't want to be here for Revelation. You want to be like for the wrath. You want to be out of here. This is the part that, so I think if the rapture doesn't happen pre-tribulation, if it like before any of this, a lot of people think we're going to be gone before any of this happens. I wrestle between pre-tribulation and pre-wrath. So to me, because it says we're not appointed to wrath, right? He'll protect us from that. So I think we would be gone sometime between like before, I don't know, like maybe before the 5th trumpet with the locusts like that. I definitely don't think we'll be here for the 6th trumpet. So listen to this. The 6th angel blew his trumpet, and I heard a voice speaking from the 4 horns of the gold altar that stands in the presence of God. And the voice said to the 6th angel who held the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." Then the 4 angels who had been prepared for this hour, day, month, and year were turned loose to kill 1/3 of all the people on the earth. Now, I don't know, I don't think I've done this video yet, but I have it in my notes to talk about, which I guess I can talk about it now, but so where the Euphrates River is in between, it kind of runs in the middle of Israel and Syria. It's a protective barrier for Israel with their kind of like enemies to the, does it say from the east to the west? Let's see. I think Syria's to the east, right? So they can march from the east to the west without hindrance or something like that. But yeah, so that is a dividing barrier. And there is also a passage in here that talks about how the, let's see here. Yeah, there's a passage that talks about how the angel was supposed to make the Euphrates River dry up. And like we've mentioned before in the Look to Israel for Prophecy video that we did, the Euphrates River is like 60 or 70% dry already. It's like almost gone. And that was prophesied on like over 1,000, probably 2,000, like, 2,000 years ago. It was prophesied on that it would happen. And so this says, the voice said to the sixth angel who held the trumpet, release the four angels who were bound at the great river Euphrates. And the four angels who had been prepared for this hour and day and month and year were turned loose to kill 1/3 of all the people on the earth. And I heard the size of their army, which was 200 million mounted troops. So, yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen videos on the Euphrates River and the angels that people are hearing down there, but they're hearing like actual like growling and roaring and like, chains shaking and stuff down there from being bound. These angels and, like they're physical beings, and it would make sense that you could hear them because they're actual beings. And yeah, it's scary because like you can tell the time is close. With this video, I'm not saying that we're not close, because we are a little too close for comfort right now, I think, but I don't think we're in Revelation right now. I think we're, like I'm going to say when I'm done reading, and we're going to go to Matthew 24. We're in the start of the sorrows, the beginning of sorrows. The birth pains is what they call it. That's what I think. It's all leading up to it, and it's very close, teetering on the edge of Revelation, starting the trumpets and all that stuff. It says, and in my vision I saw the horses and the riders sitting on them. The riders wore armor that was fiery red and dark blue and yellow. The horses had heads like lions, and the fire and smoke and burning sulfur billowed from their mouths. 1/3 of the people on the earth were killed by these 3 plagues, by the fire and the smoke and burning sulfur that came from the mouths of the horses. Their power was in their mouths and their tails, for their tails had heads like snakes, with the power to injure people. But the people who did not die in these plagues still refused to repent of their evil deeds and turn to God. They continued to worship demons and idols made of gold, silver, bronze, stone, and wood, idols that can neither see nor walk nor hear. And they did not repent of their murders, their witchcraft, or their sexual immorality, or their thefts. So, and this is all in the first 3.5 years. The last 3.5 years, when it gets into the bowls, is worse than the first half. Yeah, because that's when it, starts to get into the Antichrist and all of that evil stuff. Yeah, so Revelation is meant to be read in chronological order, so you should read the whole thing from start to finish. But I want to go to Matthew really quick. So Matthew chapter 24, I want to read 3 through 14. Like I said, again, for context, it's good to read not just one passage, but the stuff around it. So this says, see, I want to start at at verse 3 and go to 14. So this is talking about when Jesus speaks about the future. It's the first signs of the end times, okay? Just for context. So this says, later Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him privately and said, tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world? Here he goes. Jesus told them, don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars. But don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nation will go to war against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many diverse places, which we've already been seeing the earthquakes in all over the place. But all of this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then it says, then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed, which there are Christians in other countries and stuff being killed for that. We know that. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers. And many will turn away from me and betray me, and many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will deceive many. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it, and then the end will come. So Revelation chapter 8 is the first four trumpets, the first four trumpet judgments. Like I said, it's in chronological order, the book of Revelation. So much of Revelation hasn't happened yet, but we are very close. That is for sure. I'm pretty confident that we are like knocking on the door of the end times here. I've heard people say, or Tiff say, and I think this too, that we are at 11:59 on God's prophetic time clock. Like we are like right there. But are we in chapter 8? I don't think so. Let's see. I think I read Revelation chapter 9 already. Let me look. Yeah, I did. Got ahead of myself. So the seventh trumpet isn't until chapter 11 when it talks about Christ's second coming. And Jesus doesn't come back until chapter 19. A lot of stuff happens in between chapter 11 and 19. Then we get to the 1,000-year millennium and the new heaven and the new earth. Like this is all the chronological order that happens. So while I believe he's coming back very soon, like maybe within 10 years is kind of the feeling I get. Like it's going to be very soon, I feel. We don't know the day or the hour, obviously, but it does say that we will know the season. And it is very, very, very obvious that we are in the season right now. There is, like I said, there's earthquakes everywhere. There's fires. Like we had a fire quite a few years ago up here in Alaska that took, if I'm not mistaken, was it like 4 million acres or something like that? It took a lot of our land up here. It was very scary. And it started coming down our direction. And it never got super, super close, but it was getting close enough to where we were like, geez, like, are we going to have to start worrying about leaving? Yeah, fires happen, things happen, but the way that it says this fire is going to burn up and destroy 1/3 of the earth, it's going to be hail mixed with fire and blood thrown down at the earth. Like, that's not how this fire started. And that's why it's so important to read things in context so that if something happens, you're not taking it out of context and scaring everybody and, throwing out false doctrine, because we have to be really careful about that. And even me doing these videos, sometimes I get kind of nervous because I'm like, well, I don't want to say the wrong thing and like accidentally preach a heresy or a false teaching. Like, I don't want to do that. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to start this channel, even though the Spirit was like pushing me to, I feel like, was because, when you're talking about scripture, you're wielding a really powerful sword, and I don't want to ever like misrepresent or misspeak, because first of all, I don't want to lead other people the wrong way, but second of all, I don't want to be judged for misspeaking. And yeah, so we are not in Revelation chapter 8, I believe. Like I said, you can't take a single passage out of context and just like apply it to day-to-day life. It has to be read in its entirety together. So if you're going to say that the California fires are related to Revelation chapter 8, first of all, remember that Revelation is written in chronological order, because it says this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens. It is in order that way. And so it's important to read Revelation from start to finish all the way through. And yeah, don't just take things out of context and think that that's what's happening. So are the California fires what people are claiming in Revelation chapter 8? No, I don't think so. But I do think it is part of the Matthew 24 section where it talks about how Jesus says there'll be like an increase in all of these things happening. But the end won't come right away. You know, other things have to happen first. And so some of those things that have to happen before chapter 8 are kind of severe. And yeah, so just read all of Revelation from start to finish. It's not that long of a book. If you want to listen to it on audio to get through it faster, that's fine too. But I don't think it's that long of a book. You can read the whole thing in probably, I don't know, maybe an hour or less. I don't feel like it's that long of a book. It's only, let's see. So mine goes from page 1847 to 1874. So that's like what? Like 30 something pages? It's not that long. You can totally whip this out. Revelation is one of the most, not one of the most important books, but it's, it definitely is very important. And if you're not going to read this, so this is how I started to read the whole Bible, is I thought, if I'm not going to read any of the Bible, I need to at least read Revelation, because it is such an important book, because it's talking about the end times, the last days, which is now. And so it's important to know what's happening, you know, so you're not caught off guard or deceived or, you know, any of that. And this says, so Revelation is the only book in the Bible that's, you know, starts with a promise first to the reader, okay? I've said this many times in our videos, but I want to say it again, okay? Revelation chapter 1, verse 3 says, God blesses the one who reads the words of this prophecy to the church, and he blesses all who listen to its message and obey what it has to say, for the time is near. So you are blessed for reading Revelation because it's that important, and you're blessed for listening to it. Like even me just reading it to you now, you're blessed by even listening. And, you know, like for me, I'm also blessed by telling it to you. Like everybody is blessed with anything to do with this book. So yeah, I just think we need to be careful, especially these days, because people are throwing around a lot of, you know, like Revelation Bible verses, which, I mean, some of it makes sense. It really does with all the crazy stuff that's happening. But for me, I feel like the stuff that happens in Revelation is like the stuff that's happening now, kind of, but like way worse, like way more severe. and like how it describes certain things happening, like all of those things have to happen. You know, if it says that with these fires comes this, you know, comes hail and fire mixed with blood, like that's what it has to look like, you know. And they're already throwing wonders in the sky with all, like I said in my dream video, they're already throwing around, you know, all these drones and projections are putting up, you know, what look like, you know, different lights and different things and that look like aliens and stuff. And it's like, we have to be really careful, because Jesus literally warns us that they will try and deceive us, even if they can, God's chosen people, the ones who believe in him. If they can, they'll try and confuse Christians. That's the devil's goal, is to have mass confusion, mass panic, you know, trying to get a hold of Christians that maybe don't read all of the Bible, and so they can be easily confused and mistake things. Yeah, it is really, really important to read Revelation. I really think anybody watching this, you should definitely read that book. Yeah, so when things start to happen, you're not confused. But anyways, if anybody has any questions, or if anybody has anything that they want to lovingly correct me on, if they feel like I got something wrong, that's fine. But we don't need to, you know, throw around nasty words and be rude and mean and whatever. There's ways we can lovingly correct and lovingly teach. Yeah, so if anybody wants to add anything to what I said or wants a question answered, just leave it in the comments. I will do my best to answer. Or if you have anything that you want to, like I said, add or correct, that you feel needs to be, then, you know, you can give your thoughts on it. And I just ask that it's done in a nice way, because, yeah, we're not supposed to be harsh with our words. So, anyways, I just wanted to clear that up because, like I said, I've been seeing a lot of people talk about how the California fires are Revelation chapter 8, and I just really don't think so, based on what I read. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a nice weekend, and we will see you next Friday. Stay blessed.